Welcome back to This Day Live, a Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. Still with me, Jide Ologun, legal practitioner and national development advocate, Professor David Aworawo, Professor of International Relations and Strategic Studies at the University of Lagos, and Opeyemi Adamolekun, Executive Director, Enough is Enough. Enough is Enough in Nigeria was birthed in the heat of a constitutional crisis that threatened to derail, if not completely upstage, the nation's fledgling democracy between 2009 and 2010. The country's leader at the time, late President Umaru Yar'Adua, was taken seriously ill and flown to Saudi Arabia for treatment. Back home, a deadly interplay of forces within and outside the corridors of power over his dwindling health ultimately crystallized into public consternation and galvanized the entire nation into seeking for answers. Enough is Enough Nigeria, which marks its 15th anniversary today, happens to be a byproduct of that mass movement. On this occasion of the 15th anniversary of Enough is Enough Nigeria, I'm now being joined for a conversation on its evolution, accomplishments, and goals by Ufuoma Nnamdi-Udeh, the organization's Senior Programs Associate. Good to have you on the program, Ufuoma Nnamdi-Udeh.
Good evening.
Well, first let me say happy birthday to Enough is Enough Nigeria, because it was actually on March 16, that the 10 years ago, that the organization came into being, a crystallization of the protests over the missing in action of President Umaru Yar'Adua, the killings and the kidnapping in Jos, and the general, state of anomie in the country. And some of the young men who were part of that process, Chude Jidonwo, who had written, "Where is your outrage?" on social media, on Twitter, to galvanize, people. And there were others who then joined that struggle, Ufuoma, Bisola Edun, Chioma Chuka, Adebola Williams, who again was there, Audu Makuri, and then other, elderly people like Dele Momodu, joined the struggle, Charlie Boy, Opeyemi, Adamolekun, Omotola Jalade Ekende, and it was all of that, that led to the emergence of Enough is Enough, as a civil society advocacy group. Tell us, how has it been in the last 15 years? What are the highlights?
Okay, thank you very much for having me. I watch this show, so it's nice to be here. I would say that, when these protests happened, I was probably about 10, 11. Yeah.
Don't worry, the young shall go.
The young
now you are in
grown.
the driver's seat.
Right? And so, just getting into EiE Nigeria and just seeing the trajectory of work that has happened over the past 15 years. EiE has been at the forefront of almost every social movement that has happened in Nigeria. And so what started as a protest and outrage of young people at the time metamorphosed into an organization that really just wants to propagate good governance, the gospel of good governance and public accountability in Nigeria. I'm a student of international relations, and so I have had to study about governance and the history of the country. But then you see that since we got into our democracy as we know it now, there's been citizens are usually not interested anymore. And so with EiE, we're trying to raise active citizens. We do that through civic education and then just creating platforms where citizens can engage the machinery of government. Because at the end of the day, we cannot fold our arms and just allow a group of people decide to take the country in a direction that is not directioning. Right? And so that's basically what we've done. We've organized protests. We also did the first presidential debates in Nigeria. One of the things that we do as well, legislative advocacy, where I think a few years back we did the Open National Assembly campaign, where the demand was simple: the National Assembly should make their budget public. Right? We know the budget of the executive, but before then, the National Assembly budget was shrouded in secrecy. And the campaign was, make your budget public. And that happened. that happened, and then that also just dovetailed into other legislative engagements that we do, like our Shine Your Eye platform, which basically is like a contact directory of all the information of your elected representatives. So you can go there, you see their names, their phone numbers, you can reach out to them and things like that.
Okay, Ufuoma, I'm aware that Enough is Enough Nigeria has published, a book titled Footprints.
Yes.
Where many of these programs are articulated. But in specific terms, as someone who has been watching the organization over the years, you were involved in the Boko Haram, we need security in
Bring
Nigeria.
back our girls.
Bring back our girls, that was it. Free the Chibok girls. Not too young to run
movement.
Movement that led to the 2018, right?
Yes.
The 2018 Not Too Young to Run bill Act, because it was signed May 21st, 2018. And then you had the 2020
NSAS protest.
Yes. And then, advocacy and all of that. Now, you've talked about, the evolution, your programs, but do you think that in terms of the interface with government and constituencies, do you think that on this government side, any lessons have been learned, or that these civil advocacy groups have been able to make any difference? Has anything changed?
Honestly, I would say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that, we have some, because of the activities of civil advocacy groups in the past decade and a half and so, we have some young Nigerians who can glean from their experiences. No, because we are still talking about, imagine, just a few hours ago, somebody came up to share her problems, that, economic crisis is happening in the country, she cannot feed, she cannot afford a crate of eggs, and things like that. And she's being met with oppression on that front. And then, so that's why I would say no, to say that I don't think government has learned. I was literally just telling somebody that these are the kind of things where your government should come out to you and say, okay, this is what we are doing about the economy. But we don't see that. When she's a youth corps member, and so when we have youth corps members kidnapped, or when they are kidnapped or something happens to them on their way to their orientation camps, nothing is said, nothing is done. It's like, oh, we don't know, we don't see it. We see Nigerians being the ones to, get them out of the situations they're in. But then somebody comes out to tell you that, Mr. President, what are you doing? I cannot afford a crate of egg. And you said that you have increased our wage from 33,000 to 75,000, and nothing has been done about it. And I think that the fact that we're still met with that oppression of something so simple, it makes me question the how far we've gone, honestly.
Okay, one of the things that Enough is Enough Nigeria has been talking about is the office of the citizen as the most important office in this democratic arrangement. How strong do you think that office of the citizen is in Nigeria today? Because it's not enough to say the citizen is very important. Where are we as citizens?
I think we're getting there.
Where are we going to?
We're getting there to a place where, because at the end of the day, people need to understand the power that they have as citizens. I think that's the ethos of the campaign Office of Citizen, for citizens to understand that you actually have the power as citizens. These people are there to serve you, and not the other way around. And so, while we may not be there yet in terms of we see random Nigerians, going to demand good governance or demand accountability, I think we're getting there. People now make TikTok videos, Instagram videos, Twitter spaces to discuss these issues. Those are the ways by which we are. The Office of Citizen campaign is no longer about just organizing physical town hall meetings, but they are also taking it to the virtual space as well. And so while we're not 100% there yet, I think that we're getting there. What's missing to me is just an understanding of our democracy. And that's why civic education campaigns are always very, very important.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned, the social media space. And that leads me to the next question. How useful has technology been in your work in, social advocacy? I mean, I assume you belong to the Gen Z generation.
Yes.
This generation brought up on electronic gadgets and technology. How do you use technology to facilitate the work of advocacy?
I would say technology has been the game changer. Just looking at how people mobilized and organized during the EndSARS protest, different people have the different perspectives of the protest and what they took out of it. But technology was a major factor. Even just how people were able to donate funds to keep the protest running for the amount of days that it was running. That's one. Also, even in the area of education, when I talk about civic education, making people aware of things that are happening. Social media, there's so much you can say to a group of people just in front of you, right? But then when you have the ability to amplify that messaging, it runs wild like fire. And I think that is where we are now. Even when the government tried to clamp down on social media, because they understand that there's something there. If young Nigerians can, and I think that we've tried it out and we've seen it work, where we can organize from social media and then translate it into physical action in terms of, be it protest, be it attending town hall meetings at your local government office, be it coming out on election to actually vote. I think that is the power of social media to sustain the momentum. Because at the end of the day, you can't, I mean, would we protest for 365 days? But then you protest for a period of time. You can leverage social media to sustain the momentum, and then also for feedback mechanism. I think that even government officials, some are starting to see that it's important for them to also be on social media as well, to be able to engage.
Okay, Ufuoma, let me end this conversation on a personal note. I mean, you are 25, you have a whole future ahead of you. Yeah. You studied international relations, and then you have chosen to join this placard-carrying, protest-leading enterprise. What is the attraction? You don't want to be a diplomat. You want to be carrying placards. What is the motivation? For the benefit of other young people out there that may like a life in advocacy.
I think for me, Nigeria, it's personal, because if the country is not working, at the end of the day, like, you travel and you're still a Nigerian, whether or not you relocate or not. So these things, they affect our everyday. For me, I just want a country that works. I want to elect somebody into office and know that the person is there for my own interest. And so for me, I would keep on educating. If I need to, carrying placards, we don't always carry placards, right?
Okay.
So
pardon me, I thought this is a placard carrying.
When it's necessary, of course. But we don't always carry placards. We also find ways to engage and just help them government go forward. For me, I just want a country that works. And I think that I'm echoing the voice of a lot of young Nigerians. It's tiring, having to fight for these things over and over again. And we see the people in government are the people that also fought against things like this when they were younger. And then you get in there and then you start to do something different. For me, I want a country that works. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm not doing anything else, at least for now.
Thank you very much, Ufuoma Nnamdi-Udeh, for joining us on This Day Live, This Sunday Talk Show. And again, congratulations to Enough is Enough Nigeria on the occasion of its 15th anniversary, and all the young men and women out there who are trying to make Nigeria a better place.